Did a lot of hunting, fishing. I remember one time my dad took us fishing, and Ray White was he was a deaf boy my age, and he went to school for the deaf and blind. But in the summertime, he would be at home, and he would come and spend a lot of time at our house. We went fishing one time, and we stayed overnight. We were sleeping on the ground, of course. Had a big fire, had a trot line out, and he was anxious to go catch some fish. So, when it come time to run the trot lines, he run first down there, and he jerked the line up, had a big catfish on it. He grabbed it, and, and he turned it loose. He's shaking his head, and he's trying to tell me it stung him. He had got a hold of one of the fins on that catfish, and it had stuck in his head, and he was hurt. And of course, it was cold, laying on that wet ground around the creek bank. But he didn't ask to go fishing with us anymore after that. And Ray was a good kid. He was always around. In the summertime, you couldn't get him to go home and spend all his time at our house. But of course, there wasn't much hunting done during the summertime. But when the fall of the year come around, of course, my dad would always make sure we got out and killed squirrels and rabbits, things of that nature. Of course, my dad had been in the military, and he was really a marksman when it come to shooting a gun. He had an old shotgun, and it had the hammers on it. You pull back, shoot, double barrel, and it kicked his old 12 gauge. And I remember trying to shoot that thing a couple of times, and it just about break your shoulder when you'd shoot it. And he had stuck it in the ground, going across the creek. And when he did, he hadn't noticed it, and he fired it off one time, split the barrel on him.
Lucky, that's all I've had.
Had to saw the barrel off, but that was his favorite gun. And at that time, first starting out, I didn't have a gun. But later I got one. I'll talk about that a little bit. But we would always go down to my grandfather's, and he had a big place down in Cottondale, Alabama, around Colon. And we'd go there on Thanksgiving, and we'd always go hunting in the morning before Thanksgiving. The women would fix a big Thanksgiving dinner. We'd all go out and hunt and see what we could kill. And John McCoy was part of the family. He was married to one of the girls. My grandfather and grandmother, they had about 12 or 14 kids. I don't even remember exactly how many they had, but they had. I know they had at least 4 boys, and then they had a bunch of girls. And then 2 of the boys.
Were these the Keatons?
No, the Joneses.
Okay.
Two of the boys got killed during the Second World War on the USS Arizona. But Uncle Lofton and my dad would be there, and we'd go hunting. And I know I used to pick at my grandfather, and I don't know how old he was at that time. I was probably 10, 11 years old. My job would be to carry the game we killed.
Mm-hmm.
We had a bag. We'd put the game in the bag, and then after we got through hunting, we'd clean it all up and cut it up and dole it out to whoever wanted what. We'd usually kill, a bunch of squirrels, maybe a rabbit or 2, anything we could find we would bring home. But John McCoy, like I say, he was married to one of the girls, but he was a guard on the chain gang. Back in those days, they still had chain gangs. And he would always talk about his adventures when he was a guard, because he
Mhm.
kind of held that as a big thing, being able to carry a gun and all that. And of course, my dad didn't pay too much attention to anything John said, because John talked, I'm sure there was some truth in a lot of stuff he said, but he just talked a lot. And my dad didn't talk hardly at all. Anyhow, we went out hunting, and the dogs, we hunted with dogs when we went squirrel hunting, and the dogs had treed, and there was big fox squirrels up in a tree, and my dad went around on one side to shake the bushes, to get the fox squirrel to come around on our side.
Yeah.
And John, he shot up there, I don't know, he must have had a automatic shotgun, because he shot 3 or 4 times, I know. I mean, boom, boom, boom. And the squirrel just kept running, He didn't hit him. And finally he ran back around on the other side of the tree where my daddy was.
Mhm.
And my daddy shot one time, boom, and the squirrel fell down on the ground, and the dogs jumped on it and everything. And John was hollering, "Who shot that? Who shot that?"
What, was he going to claim him?
Well,
He was claiming for himself.
I think he was embarrassed that he'd shot so many times, had to kill the squirrel. But my grandfather, he would just laugh, and we kept going. We were down in the swamp. We were down in the swamp, hunting, and they had some rabbits down there. I mean, those rabbits was the biggest rabbits I had ever seen. And my grandfather called them cane cutters. I was used to, little bunny tail rabbits that you could run.
He called them what?
Cane cutters.
They have those in Louisiana.
I know. Well, that's what my grandfather called them cane cutters. And of course, I had never seen rabbits that big, but
Yeah, they live in the cane fields.
we jumped one of those big cane cutters. He was a big rabbit. He jumped up and he was running, and of course, John McCoy, he cuts down on him with his shotgun, kaboom, and the rabbit just went down, and he thought he had killed that rabbit. And he runs up there, he's proud as can be, he runs up there and he stumbles and falls just as he gets to the rabbit.
Mm-hmm.
And he falls right on top of the rabbit, and the rabbit just had squatted. He wasn't, and that rabbit turned over and kicked him and clawed him. His face was all clawed up where that rabbit.
Man.
That rabbit was kicking and carrying on. It was, and the dogs was howling, and it was the biggest fight I ever saw. And the rabbit jumps up and runs off. Of course, we didn't get the rabbit, but John got all tore up over it. Of course, my daddy, he was kind of snicker a little bit. My grandfather, he'd get a big grin on his face, but I had a laugh. I'd be laughing, and it was kind of embarrassing to John. But we'd gather everything up. We'd go back to the house, and we'd clean this, the game, the squirrels and the rabbits and whatever we killed, and feed the parts of it to the dogs where we clean them, and then clean them, wash them. And some of the people would take them home with them. We might leave some with my grandfather, and then we'd have big Thanksgiving meal that the women had prepared. They had a big long table. On the back side of it was benches, and that's where all the kids would all sit on that bench on the back side. And then, of course, they had these old chairs, that hickory bottom chairs go around the other side, and everybody gathered around. We had a big meal. But it was always a fun time. At that time, I didn't have a gun. But a year or so later, there was a guy, there was a boy, and he was a year or two older than me, Pat Hall, and he had a 22 Marlin, I believe it was, automatic. No, it was J.C. Higgins, and he had bought it at Sears, and it was an automatic, and he wanted a lever action rifle because he
Mhm.
saw those Western movies where they had those lever action rifles. And of course, his daddy had got killed in an automobile accident, and his mama had a little money. So she was able to buy him that lever action rifle, and he was really proud of it. And I was able to buy that automatic, that 22 automatic rifle from him. I think I paid him $25, and I don't even know how I got the $25 because I guarantee you my daddy wouldn't give me $25 to go buy no gun.
Wasn't that bicycle involved? Or?
Yeah, I had traded some stuff and all that, but I don't remember exactly the story. There was a bicycle involved in the trade, but
I've got a Sears 22. It's a pump action.
yeah. But that once I got that gun, what I would do in hunting season was when I would come home from school, I would put my stuff down and feed the mule and the hogs and chickens, things of that nature, and then I